Did Ratchet and Clank really need that PlayStation 5 SSD to be able to run? We got some more insight onto how Perfect Dark is going to play, and there's a really cool carrying case that is coming out for the Xbox Series X and S. So when Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was announced, one of the biggest selling features you could say for the game itself was the fact that it could only run on the PlayStation 5 because it had that super fast SSD, mainly to be able to operate those rifts where you're going through the game and you're jumping from dimension to dimension. And the marketing and all that kind of stuff, and I guess the fans of the PlayStation 5 made it sound like you needed that SSD in order to run this game, and there's no way this game could run on any other platform. Well, Digital Foundry did a breakdown of this, testing out the best and the worst available drives that you can buy in order to expand your SSD storage on the PS5, and they were going to see if Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is going to be able to run on that worst drive. So the big comparison here is the Mark Cerny certified expansion SSD, which is the WDSN 850, versus the worst one here, which is the WDSN 750 SE. Now the biggest difference here is a 58.2% difference in bandwidth between the two drives. So recommended, PlayStation says, to have speeds of 5,500 megabytes per second, whereas the SN750 is only 3,200 megabytes per second. So I mean, the main takeaway from all of this is that Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart can easily run on the Western Digital SN750 SE, and that you can't even notice the difference between running the game on that SSD versus running it on the internal SSD of the PlayStation 5. And then he goes on further in the video and does loading time comparisons between the internal SSD and the two external drives he's comparing here. And there's like almost no difference, like 2 to 3 seconds. So there really isn't that much of an advantage between using either of the drives or loading it internally. But where the big advantage comes if you were to go with the better SSD, the WD850, would be the read and write speeds and the transferring of games from your internal SSD over to the drive, as it takes significantly longer on that SN750. But all in all, it's interesting to see that Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart can pretty much run on the worst SSD, or can run and runs very well on the worst SSD that you could use to expand your PlayStation 5 storage. And all of the narratives and everything that Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart needed that internal SSD to be able to play the game obviously was not true. And we've seen things like, if you compare the going through the rifts into different dimensions in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart and comparing that to what we've seen in Psychonauts 2, going into different areas and how you can like run through a door, and on one side it's a completely different area, you go back through the door and you can see the other area, and how that works on the Xbox Series X, that actual feature itself is completely doable on pretty much any platform. And on top of that, there was an article that came out, and there was the developers that came out that said that what Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was doing could potentially even be done on the PlayStation 3. So all that stuff with the SSD, I think from the original announcement of it, that you need that PS5 SSD to run this game, was not true. So Perfect Dark is one of, I think, the most anticipated games to be coming out from Xbox Game Studios in the next couple of years. And when we first started talking about it, when we first heard about it, they talked about the game saying, we thought about how to differentiate what we call spy fighting versus a traditional FPS. We really wanted to play up the physicality, get that excitement of movement, getting some of that camera movement that we see watching body cameras. And that tweet there was Clobrel just kind of going back on what was said last year from the initiative at the Game Awards in 2020, and special ed from Xbox Era quote tweet that saying, think almost John Wick-esque. So Perfect Dark could be just a complete rework of the game in terms of its movement, the combat style, and all that kind of stuff. Probably a lot more fast paced, and you really got to rely on continuously moving in order to get through areas. So that could be interesting. It'll be definitely a different take on Perfect Dark. And then we go down further into the comments of this tweet, and people are confused why they would make it John Wick-esque and asking why it would even be a Perfect Dark game, all that kind of stuff. But this responder here says, so a gun-fu like combat from an FPS POV with interesting camera perspectives depending on certain moves like grabbing and stuff. And then special ed responds, haven't heard that there will be camera shifts like Zero had. and he says that the guess is going to be like Mirror's Edge combat, but with more polish and more options. And I mean, honestly, that sounds kind of interesting, sounds kind of cool, a different take on the series itself. Even though we haven't gotten a Perfect Dark in a long time, we know this is just a complete reboot of the series, so a different take could bring more fans, and hey, it may end up being really good, or they may mess it up and it may end up being really bad. But I'm very excited just to see what this game is all about when they finally show off its first gameplay. If it's really fast-paced, I love fast-paced games, stuff that make you continuously stay engaged in the combat, engaged in the gameplay at all times in order to be successful. So that does kind of have me excited if the way I'm thinking about it is kind of the way that it's going to turn out. And finally here, I just want to talk about this because it is kind of cool, it's kind of interesting, and it is that Hyperkin is bringing out a travel bag for the Xbox Series X and S. And the reason why I think this is interesting is mainly just because how portable specifically the Xbox Series S is, and you don't really need a bag for it because you can literally put it in your backpack and be fine. The Xbox Series X is a little bit more heavy, but if you want something to really secure your console on the move, if you travel with it a lot, maybe you go on vacation, you go on business trips, stuff like that, this may be the solution for you. Now, this is called the ROOK travel bag, and right now at 9 to 5 Toys you can see it highlighted there, and it's for $70, which in my opinion, based off of what we're seeing here with the protection, all the different slots and the shoulder strap and everything, seems like a decent price for it. And you can get it on Amazon as well for $70. I don't know how many people will want to pick this up. I don't know how many people actually travel with their Xbox Series X or S, but specifically the Xbox Series S, we've seen things like the screen that you're going to actually be able to attach to it, the X screen, I believe, which is being kickstarted and being produced through that, which would just give you a portable screen you attach right to your Series S that you can flip up and play. So if you have that screen or not, you just kind of throw your console into there. And for somebody who travels a ton, stays in hotels a lot for business or for pleasure, they could bring their Series S easily and keep it safe no matter where they're going, or even the Series X. But yeah, here is a travel bag. If anybody's interested out there, you could definitely go pick that up right now as it is available. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. Let me know what you think about Ratchet and Clank and the fact that you can run this game with slower SSDs besides what's available with inside the PlayStation 5. Let me know what you think about Perfect Dark and using a John Wick-esque type of gameplay, and would you pick up that travel bag for your Xbox Series X or S? If you enjoyed this video, you found it entertaining and informative, I really appreciate you hitting that thumbs up. And if you are new here and you like what you saw throughout this video, I'd appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. Help this channel grow, help grow this community so we can have great conversations in the comments below. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.
We'll be right back.